So in the last tutorial, I was doing this silly little thing where I was kind of counting almost like down columns to illustrate the concept of how for loops are actually working. And at the time I was recording the tutorial, I was doing it up in my office. I didn't have something to draw with, and I didn't have time to set up maybe a spreadsheet would be the best way to explain this. But I thought of another way. So I'm going to kind of recreate, and I'm going to use the print function, which we haven't really used that much in class. We should use it more, but I always find it helpful, like after students get used to kind of what it is that they're making up on the screen, then there's like a motivation to use the print function in a helpful manner. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, we'll just start with print here. So to get used to it, so I could do something like print width, right? So I already have this set up, and with the canvas, it's 800 by 800. So if I just press play, and down here in the corner, I have a little arrow playing. Right, so you can see it's just counting, it's returning 800. It's telling me that that's what that value is, right? So another thing I could do is within here, I could print a string. So a string is, a word or a character. Or, it's not a number value. It's like a label, right? It's text. So I could just, the one example, I can't even type it, honestly, is hello world. I'm not going to do that. This is some text I typed. Oops. And there we go. So I'm putting these little quotes, not the double quotes, the single quotes in here. Double quotes I think will work in JavaScript as well, but I've also seen the singles. I've been trying to use those. So if I press this again, you can see that every time it does the draw, it says this is some text I typed, and then it's counting it out over and over and over again. Okay, so why am I messing with this? What I want to do is print out little messages so I get a good idea of how the for loop is working. All right, so for, how did I do this before? I said, I'll just use x since we've been using it. So x equals 0, and I'm not going to really do much with it. In fact, I'm going to make x less than 8. And then I'm going to say x plus plus. And of course, I need an open bracket, and then I need a closed bracket for my for loop. And I'm putting print in here. So right now I have this silly bit of text in there. But what if I just tell it to print x? And the other thing I do right at the bottom here is say no loop. So I just want this to do the draw once, because I don't want it to just, you can see here it printed out this text 752 times. I don't need that. I just need it to print once to get an idea of what this is doing. And I'll go ahead and do that. And there you can see. Print x. So it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? To help with this labeling, well, in fact, let's just leave that there for now. And let's do a second one. So let's do copy this. And you can see I put another open bracket. So I'm going to hit return and add a closed bracket, Command B to format that. And again, when we're using these for loops, these bits of logic, like these brackets are commands within commands. So whenever we get a command within a command, some kind of logic or loop like this, it indents itself. So this is like level 1 when it does this set of instructions, and inside of this is level 2, right? And it has its own set of instructions. And obviously we have x there. We don't want that. This could be anything, but I'm going to use y. And what I'm going to do here is put the x up above so that it plays in this loop. And then I'm going to put I'll type the same thing. So print y in here. So this one is going to be associated just when this one's running. And this one's going to be associated just when this loop is running. So let me go ahead and play. Right, and so you can see that it's gone through. It's a little confusing here because we have, I just see these sequences. So let's look at this. So I see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. So how, to help myself kind of identify these numbers, we're going to modify the print just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is this thing called concatenation. It's a big fancy word, but it just is a way of gluing together numbers and strings. So here I want the print to do whatever x is. And I'm going to put a quote. Maybe I'll do a space and a little hyphen, and I'll say this is x. And then I'll end it right there. And I'll just leave y. Hopefully if I just see x, it'll be clear which one's doing which. And I'll go ahead. So let's recap here. So if I just put a variable name, it will print whatever that variable is. If it's a Boolean, it will just say true or false. You know, if I had like go or not go, that we used early in the semester. But in this case, I'm just saying, well, I want to see what this number is, but I also want to glue, duct tape, whatever, some text onto it. In fact, I'll even do this. This is X. Very declarative, right? So you can see it's now giving me a number, and then it has a space. And so in this case, spaces actually matter because they're inside of the single quote here. So it sees the space, then the hyphen, then the space, then this is X. Let's look at this again. So 0 is X, and then, so in essence, it runs through this loop, says 0 is less than 8, sure thing. So I'm going to print this, and then it goes on to the next bit of instruction. It goes on to this one. So y is equal to 0, it's less than x, so it goes on to its bit of code. But you can see it prints y, and then it prints y again, and y again, again, until it goes all the way through till it gets to 8, which is not less than 8. So then it kicks it back up to the for loop, the x for loop, the first for loop, to run its next iteration of the command. So since these are exactly the same, we know it needs to count to 8 before either one of them becomes false and stops working. So this one counts to 0, which is the first one. And then this one goes from 0 up to 8. It goes from 0 to 7. And then this one starts at number 1. And then this one does its whole entire sequence. This one does number 2. This does its whole entire sequence. And we can see that in the print. Right? So this is X, and then 7, well, 8. It goes up to 7, but 8 iterations, because that's what's embedded here, and then it goes to the next one. So if we really wanted to be silly, we could say we were doing a loop where we're doing the rotation in between all that. So r equals 0. Well, let's see. Let's do r is less than 360, I think is the way that we had this set. And let's say r is plus equals 30. And again, we'll put a loop here. And I'll say print r. And this one's going to have a different set of numbers, so we're going to see all this. So you see, that was only one frame. That's how much stuff it did. In fact, it actually, you can see it kind of timed out there. Let's do it, let's make the iteration 90. And let's make these shorter. Let's just make this go from to 5, this one go up to 5. Oh, let me click on a little command here. Right, so 0, 0. And actually it does 0 twice. 90, 180, 270, and then it resets. And it's just making these loops inside. So here is x, right? So that runs once, and then we get 0. In fact, let's help ourselves out just a little bit more. R plus, hey, I am rotation value. And obviously, it's just a number, right? It doesn't necessarily, but that's how we've been using it in class. Oh, let's put a little space there so it's easier to read. Let's run this again. All right, this is x. The y is 0. In fact, I'm going to do that one as well. Plus again, and I am the y value. There we go. So this is x. I'm the y value. Hey, I'm rotation, 0, 90, 81, 270. And I'm the y value. So that resets. You can see it doesn't go back to x. It just jumps up 1. Loop, there's the y value, there's the y value, there's the y value, there's the y value at 4. So if it gets to 5, it's not true. So it wouldn't run that code. So it goes through all the loop, and then it goes back to x. Hey, I'm x. So this is the second time through, or 1, because we count from 0. And then I'm the y, the rotation, the y, the rotation, the y, blah, 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 blah. Right? So I'll save this. I think I called this x and y of loops example. So print is helpful if you're trying to figure out, like, well, what are these numbers, and when are these numbers, and how are they counting in these complicated for loops? And again, the for loops, once you get used to them, you're just like, oh, this is great. It's going to go through this. It's going to go through that. It's going to, count all these numbers, these lists in multiple dimensions. So it's going to be really helpful if we were dealing with objects in 3D space and we're doing a grid, and certainly when we start to modify images. So a very important thing to get used to. Okay, just about at 12 minutes. I hope this was helpful. I'm just really conscious of trying to find different ways to explain how these for loops are working so that you get a clear picture of what it is that they're doing. I'll see you in another tutorial soon.